Okay, welcome everyone. We're going to be giving this morning a class on the laws of tzedakah. If you have any questions, feel free to ask any questions, okay? So this is a request from somebody in the group to give on the laws of tzedakah. So before I start, I want to give a little bit of introduction about the laws of tzedakah. So it's something interesting that I found quoted in a book called Imre Noam, okay, which quotes the Vilna Gaon. Now listen to what he says. He says, if you clench your hand like this, what do you see? You see that all your fingers, see all this? You can see all your fingers all the same length. But when you open up your hand, you see that your fingers are different length. So the idea is like this. When you don't want to give tzedakah, so you're clenching your fence, clenching your hand. You're not opening up to give. Okay? That means you're looking at everybody saying, like, why should I give? We're all equal. We're all equal. Look at my fingers, they're all equal. Why should I give? But when you give, that means you're showing and you're understanding that everybody's different. We're all on different levels. Some people are lower than other levels, and some people, unfortunately, need tzedakah. And that's why you should have the open hand in order to give. Okay.
Wow, that's crazy.
Okay, see that? That's what the Vilna Gaon says. He was a genius in Torah. In the beginning of the book called Etz Chaim, which is a monumental Kabbalistic classic, okay, there the Arizal writes over there something phenomenal. He talks about the basic question of why was man created. And he writes, a lot of very deep Kabbalistic thoughts over there, but I'll give you a very simple answer that he gives. And the reason why is because Hashem wants to be a giver. Very simple answer. He wants to be a giver. And therefore, he's created an entire universe, worlds, the entire reality in order to be able to give. Because if there's nothing there, he can't be a giver, obviously, right? He can't be a king if there's no people. So he wants to be a giver. And why does he want to become a giver? Because he's kulo chesed. Hashem is totally, absolutely kindness. That's what he is. He doesn't want to be kind, but he is kindness. He's chesed. And therefore, he creates an entire reality in order to give. That's number one. Number two, Hashem commands us in the Torah to be like him and to follow his ways. So, Mahu rachum, kach atem rachum. Mahu chanun, kach atem chanun. Hashem is merciful, so you too be merciful, the Torah tells us. He is graceful, you be graceful. And we are in the image of Hashem, B'Tselem Elokim. At the beginning of the Torah, it says, right, that Hashem created the man in the image of Elokim. So we are always following this pattern of whatever Hashem does, we do, because it's perfection. And our goal in this world is to become perfect. How do we become perfect? It's too complicated. Nothing complicated. Just follow what Hashem does, because that's perfection. That's total kindness. You too. So therefore, in our particular mitzvah that we're studying today, is the mitzvah of tzedakah, giving charity. Hashem, the reason why he created the world is in order to do chesed. That means to give charity. Charity is not only with money. Charity is with kindness. It's with all different types of things. Giving a person a job is also kindness. It's also tzedakah in a form. So we, in order to accomplish while we're here, to becoming the best we can, to be perfect, therefore it's important to do like Hashem, which is to give tzedakah. To give tzedakah. Okay, that's the reason why we have to give tzedakah. Our sages write, and one of the greatest Jewish law codifiers, which was his name was the Tool. He writes something phenomenal. He writes that one must be very, very careful in making sure to give tzedakah, since it is more powerful than all the mitzvahs combined. Can you imagine? The mitzvah of tzedakah is more powerful. I'm paraphrasing here. More powerful than all the mitzvahs combined. That's how powerful. And it's interesting, if you look through the Torah and all the midrashim and all the sigulas and all the helpful and merits that you get and all the mitzvahs and all the mitzvahs that you do, it's singled out that tzedakah you get the most. You get the most reward, you get the most tzedakah, you get the most everything by doing this one mitzvah of tzedakah. It's very, very powerful. It saves you from death, from disease. It gets you what your blessings, it gets you parnasah, it gets whatever you want. Every segula, it seems to be, you'll find a place in the Torah where it says, give tzedakah and you'll receive, give tzedakah. And
what if you lend money?
Oh, that's also part of tzedakah. Lending a loan, giving a loan to somebody is also part of tzedakah. That's correct. That's right.
It's not maaser though.
No, we'll speak about the different levels of tzedakah as well when we talk about the laws, right? I'm just talking in general of the sigulas of tzedakah. You know, we should never test Hashem. Never test Hashem. Never say, you know, I'm going to test you, Hashem. I'm going to jump off the cliff. You're great. You can do anything. You're going to save me because you'll die. Because we know you're not supposed to test Hashem. Okay, like David the Melech, unfortunately, we saw the Gemara tells us that he tested Hashem. He said to Hashem, listen, I'm jealous. He says, I'm a tzaddik. He wasn't boastful. He knew that he was a very rightful person. He said, you call your name, you put your name besides Avram Avinu, Elokei Avraham. You put your name besides Yitzchak, Elokei Yitzchak. And you put your name besides Yaakov, Elokei Yaakov. I want your name to be next to me, Elokei David. You know, we say in Shemona Esrei, the first pasuk, Elokei Avraham, Elokei Yitzchak, Elokei Yaakov. Right? He wanted to add his name there, Elokei David. Again, not because he was boastful. He felt he was truly on the level of the greatest of our forefathers. Hashem said, you're testing me? I'm going to test you. And he gave him a big test, which unfortunately he failed. And from there, the Gemara says, don't ever test Hashem. The test was, he gave him a woman that came into his life called Bathsheba, which he later on married. And she was a married woman, and he fell lustfully for her, and she was married, and he commanded her husband to go on the front lines, and even though he would die over there, he died. Once her husband died, then he was able to marry her, because two men can't marry the same woman. So he failed the test, the Gemara says. And he was rebuked by the Navi Natan. It's a whole story in Tanakh. But anyways, there is nevertheless one mitzvah that we're allowed to test Hashem. Guess which one? Tzedakah. Ma'aser. That even though you don't have the proper amount of funds in your account, you can test Hashem. Say, listen, I'm going to give more than I'm supposed to, and you pay me back. And Hashem says, okay, that type of test I like, and I'll pay you back. So you see the uniqueness of this mitzvah of Maaseh and the Sigula and the powers, that it's worth learning about it and it's worth doing it, but according to the halakha, according to Jewish law. Okay? So I'll send you this paper, with my notes that I'm reading out right now, and that way you can have, some practical notes that you can keep with you to refer back to it. So the first thing we must define, what does it mean tzedakah? So these laws are very, very complicated, and they're found in Shulchan Aruch, in our codified law. And let's discuss them a little bit. So I want to categorize them in two different categories. One, which is the highest form of tzedakah, which were commanded from the Torah. It's called min Torah. That's the highest form. That's where you get the most reward, and so on and so forth. And then category number two is called the minhag, or the customs of giving tzedakah, which is called ma'aser ksafim, giving a portion of your money. Okay, those are the two categories. One min Torah, and the other one is minhagim that we have. So I don't know we'll be able to finish all this. It's quite lengthy, but we'll start part one anyways, and then we'll continue next time. Okay, so the first thing is, are there priorities in tzedakah, or is everybody's equal? Okay, and the answer is no. There are priorities in tzedakah. You don't just give your money to anybody that knocks on your door. Okay, for example, what's that?
So you meant like, is everyone equal on the giving end?
On the giving end, yeah, on the giving end, I'm talking about. And the answer is no, because, for example, even English, secular people will, or even non-Jews understand that charity starts at home. It's a famous phrase. Okay,
Right.
so if you don't have enough for your own siblings, your own immediate family, and those which are beyond the immediate family, for example, after your seven closest family members, with your father, mother, brother, and sisters, and so on and so forth, then you have your cousins and so on and so forth. If you don't have enough money for them, and they're needy and they're poor, then you should not be giving tzedakah at all to anybody else. But we'll qualify that in a minute. There are minimum amounts that you have to give anyways. But I'm talking about big sums of money. You shouldn't start be giving large sums of money to other people when other people need in your immediate family. Okay, that's important to understand that, okay? So charity starts at home. So if you don't have enough to feed your own family, the Torah does not want you to give outside of that. Okay, so that's rule number one. Now, we find interesting that non-Jews also give, tzedakah. Governments give tzedakah. It's called welfare, social benefits. Okay, but their concept of giving tzedakah and ours are completely different. For example,
Generosity.
yeah, their generosity is much less than ours. Much less than ours. Because they give like minimum wage. They'll give people, on welfare, people who can't work, whatever, unemployment benefits, but on a very minimal status, financial aid, which just barely gets you by.
It's almost like they just want to control the population.
Yeah, whatever the reason is, keep them alive or whatever. Don't want to be embarrassed of having too many poor people sleeping in the streets or whatever, roaming the streets.
Yeah.
But our concept in Jewish law is opposite. For example, if somebody was very rich, and he lived in a very good, very nice house, and he was able to sustain himself very well, and he comes to you and says, listen, I lost all my money, became bankrupt, I used to live in a mansion, I used to eat fish and chicken for breakfast, and go out to restaurants every day and caviar and whatever. Well, caviar's not kosher, but whatever. Special dishes. You can get kosher caviar.
I don't eat caviar, but I'm just curious. I don't know. I think you can get kosher caviar.
Yeah, well, I'm sure nowadays you can get imitation or whatever. I don't know, but
yeah.
But in any case, he comes to you with all these requests and demands. And I used to drive, a Rolls Royce and so on and so forth. And he comes to you and says, can I have tzedakah? Because I'm poor. Logically, you just give him, like your general donation of tzedakah. The Torah says no. You have to buy him that Rolls Royce. You have to buy him those luxurious breakfasts. And whatever standard was for him was status quo, with his normal way of living. You have to restore him back to how he was.
What if he needs to make money?
Okay, that's something else. But right now,
you can restore for a day. You buy his car, take him for lunch, take him for dinner, but then you start treating him like his wife, like
No, you're right. There's levels. Okay, I'm talking about introductory level to get him off the ground, to get him through the day, through the week, through the month. And after that, if you can get him a job, even better, get him back on his position, lend him money so he can invest and then make his own wealth and pay you back. And so that's something else. I'm talking about he's coming for a one-time donation. To give him $1 in your pocket would not be considered to be doing the mitzvah of tzedakah for this particular individual. okay, as opposed to the goyim that say, oh no, you give him minimum wage and give him $5 for the week, and that should be good enough, right? We don't believe in that. Since he would suffer, this poor guy would suffer if you don't give him the necessary funds, then you have to give him a large donation. Okay, that's how we differ from non-Jews. Okay, that's the way to do the mitzvah of tzedakah properly.
Do we get a mitzvah if we see a non-Jew in the street and we give him a couple bucks? No? What about, like, one time I saw this lady on the street. At night I was walking with my wife for dinner. She bombarded us. She's like, I need money for this and that. I didn't even want to say the thing she was saying. And I said, I'm going to go. There's a hotel right there. I said, no, go get you a hotel room. And then I go in, but she was like cracked out, I think. I don't know. So I go in and I'm like, and I told her not to come in with me. I just said, let me go in because they're not going to let you in. Let me just get the room and you go to it. She goes, what? Also, I come down and she just ran away. But if I got the room for her, would it be a mitzvah?
Well, in a way, because you're doing a Kiddush Hashem, it's a different mitzvah. You're showing exemplary, acts of conduct, of kindnesses towards everyone, which is a different mitzvah. It's more under Chesed, a Kiddush Hashem. But we're talking about actually, giving tzedakah is specifically for Am Yisrael. Okay, so let's continue over here. So in the case where you can afford money, you're a wealthy individual, and this poor person comes to you, which had originally a high status, a high level, and the local community cannot afford it, and the poor person doesn't go to other people to solicit funds, you would be responsible to take on this poor person and to restore him back to his original status. Okay, so that's a mitzvah. Now, let me ask you a question. Do we have to check the validity of a poor person? A person says, I'm poor, I need money tzedakah. Do you tell him, 1 second, give me your social security number, let me check you up on the system, let me check your letters, let me call your rabbis, or not? Or you just give him tzedakah? What do you think?
You have to be. I'm sure you have to be smart about it, but it doesn't make sense to dig so deep. Maybe it depends, because what if you're on the spot? What if you need to get? What if you need to give them money on the spot? It depends. Do you have time to talk to someone and see what his status is?
Okay, these are very good questions.
I mean,
and you need to know it now before the situation comes.
I feel like you can't just give it with blind faith.
Okay, so I'll tell you what the halacha is. In Jewish law, it tells us when it comes to food, for example, people come for food baskets, especially this time of year, Pesach time, where people are needy for food for Pesach, wine and matzot and all that, and need it with 2 days to Pesach. So this is quite urgent. You give straight away. You don't start making inquiries now. You don't start asking questions, making phone calls, and trying to find out. It's an urgent need, food. When somebody comes to you, I'm hungry, I'm starving, I'm about to die, or whatever.
If a guy comes to you and says, I need 10,000.
Well, that's not an urgent need. Nobody eats 10,000. I'm talking about food, actual food. They're coming for food. They're not coming for money.
You give it.
So you give it. You need $100 to buy yourself a basket of food. I'm really hungry, or you call the groceries. Listen, put $100 in in my account. This guy's coming. Let him buy whatever he wants, up to $100, $1,000, for the week. Give it to him. Don't even inquire. The guy says he's hungry. Give it to him. That's the rule. That's the law. If he comes for money, I need to buy this or have debts, then you have to inquire. You have to inquire. Like you say, you don't have to search to the bottom, take 4 months in order to make searches and look up his credit score and stuff like that and call around the world. But like you said, be wise, be attentive, look at his letters, certificates. In every city they have certificates of validation from the community. Tzedakah letters and so on and so forth. Have a quick read. Use your common sense about these things. So if you're only planning to give, let's say $100 or something, or whatever your level of comfort, $18, $5, whatever your level of comfort is, and you can give that easily, then minimal checks, just look at the letter quickly and give it. If you're planning to give 1,000, and more, higher checks, then, and I would say, come back to me tomorrow or in a few hours, and let me just make a few phone calls, and I'll get back to you. Get back to them or come back to them. There's no rush. There's no reason why. Guy's not dying. He's not asking for food. He's asking to pay back his loans. They don't need to be paid back. Take your time. Take your time. You want to give this guy a nice donation. You want to take this seriously. Say, come back in a few hours, in a day, in a week. I'll call you back, or I'll send it to you. Leave me with an envelope, and make your inquiries. The last thing you want to do is give out your hard-earned money to people who are not eligible or fraudsters, chas v'shalom, that might be just taking your money for no reason. Okay,
but you do get the mitzvah if you give it.
If you give wisely, but if you're giving to a fraudster, you don't get any mitzvah.
No.
Understand?
Yeah, but what? Yeah, all right, fine. I mean, what if he comes to your office and he's talking and you just said, listen, he probably needs, I'll give him $500. Take it.
Okay, so again, I just explained to you. I'll explain to you again. So it is where your comfort zone is. So if you're giving a small donation, whatever a small donation is for you, just give it. You don't have to argue. You don't have to inquire, nothing. Give it to him. You're doing a mitzvah. Okay?
If you want to make a big impact, then you do it wisely.
If you want to make a big impact, you want to give a nice size donation, you really want to help this guy, but you want to make sure that you're giving to a authentic cause, come back to me tomorrow, leave an envelope, I'll call you in a few hours. Whatever time delay you need to make those various phone calls, inquiries, do it. Then when he comes back into your office, give him a nice check, make yourself feel good, and with a big smile and with your comfort zone, being there, knowing that you're giving to authentic cause, and then give it to him. That's the way we give tzedakah.
Does maaser have to be in the form of money only?
No, like I said, you can give him. You can give. Well, actually, I didn't tell you this, but you can give food. You can give a basket of food. You can buy this guy lunch. I'm starving. I'm hungry.
Food $50. You could write off $50. I give maaser.
Yeah, of course, 100%.
Wow.
Yeah, 100%. Tzedakah is not only with money; it's everything which is equivalent to money. So you can give him. He says, "I don't have a car," for example. You got a spare car you're not using in the driveway. Here's the keys, my friend. Here's tzedakah. Give him the keys. That's if you gave him, $10,000.
He calculates the car, yeah.
Yeah, whatever the worth.
It could be worth $50,000, then it could be, out of the showroom, and then it could be worth $20,000. But you don't know.
Yeah, it could be $2,000, whatever. If it's broken down car and he's willing to take it, just you want to get rid of it anyways. Tzedakah here. Give him the keys. You give yourself $2,000 tzedakah money.
Right.
Also tzedakah. If he comes to you for a car. Okay.
But aren't you supposed to count to the exact penny how much maaser you give?
We'll get to that. Well, there's percentages of 10%. There's percentage of 20% if you want to be very graceful with your money. Yeah. That's the minhagim. We're not up to there yet because that is customs that we've taken on ourselves. But right now we're looking what the Torah wants to ask us for us to give, and there's no fixed amount. There is a minimal amount which is minute, really minute. It's like
Ruby's on a plane. He just texted me.
Oh, he's on a plane to Miami. Okay. Oh, he told me. He said he's going to try and Skype us from Miami, from the plane if he has good reception.
Yeah, he said he doesn't want to. I'm on a plane, can't speak, can't connect. Just tried. Also, don't want to interrupt. I don't know.
Okay, no problem. So what I'll do, I'll send him the video, and that's okay. So do you hear? So I'm talking. Hi, Ruby. So what we're trying to do over here, we're trying to differentiate between mina Torah, which is a minimal amount. It's like $2.35 to give a minimal donation, and then you get a mitzvah mina Torah. To our next part of our discussion, was going to be the minhagim, our customs, according to the Mina de Rabbanan, how to give 10% of your money, which is the minimal for our customs, and 20% if you want to be generous.
Up to 20%.
Up to 20%. Okay? So, but we'll discuss that later on. Okay? Now, how to give tzedakah. Let's talk about how to give tzedakah. When somebody approaches you for tzedakah, it's important to be respectful in a dignified manner. Okay? This includes greeting him with a happy and cheerful smile, being happy that Hashem has provided you with a special opportunity to better yourself by performing this great and special mitzvah. Because a lot of people, you see them, that they're being approached and says, oh, another rabbi, say, here, just take that. You know what I mean? They're not doing the mitzvah correctly.
You're not taking the time.
You're not taking the time, smile. It's better to tell people with a smile, sorry, I cannot see you right now. I'm praying, or I don't see people at my office, come to see me. Than to just rush and give him like $5 crunched in your pocket and give it in his hand, or $1 and says, here. You're not doing yourself a favor, you're not doing them a favor. Okay? Right. Because the Kabbalists explain to us that every time you do a mitzvah, you're creating your own personal angel. And this angel comes after 120 years when you go to the great Bed Din Shalamala, you go to the great day of judgment, and you're standing there in front of Hashem. And Hashem is judging you for all the deeds that you've done. Then all of a sudden, all these angels come out behind you, advocating for you, says, no, he was a good guy. He did this mitzvah, that mitzvah, this, da. And the last thing you want to know, last thing that you want to see on your side is people, the angels that you've created through your mitzvah, advocating, say, he did the mitzvah, but he didn't smile, but he didn't give it gracefully, but he embarrassed the poor person by doing the mitzvah. You don't need to hear that in a court case. You're right. You want to hear these guys, these angels that you are creating every time you do a mitzvah. These angels coming out cheering for you. He did the mitzvah with a smile. He did the mitzvah with a happy heart. He did the mitzvah without regretting it. That's what you want to hear. Okay?
Right.
So it's important when you're doing the mitzvah to do it gracefully and make sure not to embarrass the ani, and to be dignified and be considered for his feelings. So like I said, if you can't see him to right now, or if you're in a rush or not in the best mood, tell him to come back. Better to do it that way than to rush it and to ruin the mitzvah. That's number one. So number two is very similar. You have to be very sympathetic, compassionate, and comfort him as well. It's not only the money that counts. It's to hear his story. And saying how, I don't know, I'll make up a story, how he was divorced and how his children need his help and he doesn't have money and he lost his job, lost his house, blah, 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 the whole story, blah, 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 blah. You sit there with a compassionate ear, if you have the time, obviously, right? And to try to make time for him and to hear. That's part and parcel of the mitzvah of tzedakah. It's not just the bare bones of giving the money to him, but it's a package deal. It's a sympathy that you're providing as well. Number three, it's good as well to give advice and practical solutions if you can. If it's suitable, right? If he says, I just want the money, then just give him the money and he isn't rush, right? Number four, it's important to give the amount that, to some degree, that personalizes the mitzvah. Because by giving $1, that's not the ultimate way. I mean, we're talking about, mitzvah mina muvcha, meaning give tzedakah is the mitzvah. It's true. We're trying to embellish, make the mitzvah even beautiful, make that angel that you created even better angel for you, better advocate, right? That's what I'm trying to do. That's what we're learning over here. So to embellish the mitzvah is to personalize the amount you're giving. Don't give only, some people give standard 18, 26, or 100, or 101, 101. Person feels like I'm just another case for this person, But if you listen out to him, say, you know what, I'm going to give you a little bit extra because I feel for your story. Here's 126 for your cause, or or give a number which indicates like, oh, I've heard you. I'm going to give you a bit extra here because I understand what you're going through and I feel for you. Okay, that means you're getting yourself involved and making the person feel better. Now, number five, ideally, tzedakah should be given with the right hand.
Right hand?
The right hand. The right hand in Torah law is always preferred than the left hand. There are a lot of different reasons for that. Okay, we're not going to go into that, but you have to know the right hand is chesed, and the left hand is dinim or gvura. So since you're doing an act of chesed, you do it with your right hand. Now listen to this. Ben Ish Chai, in Pashas Vayigash, he says something very interesting. And it's an arizal in a few different places. So he says like this: when you're giving, let's say a coin, he's talking about a coin. The coin represents a yud, the letter yud in Hebrew, which is the smallest of the alphabet. Your hand is represented by hey, because you have 5 fingers. 5 is the numerical value of hey. So you have the yud and the hey, which is your hand, and you give the money, the coin, with your hand, with your arm. You stretch out your arm, which is, the arm is like the vav, like a vav, which is straight.
Okay.
Who are you giving it to? You're giving it to a poor person in his hand. His hand, we said, is the hay. The 5 fingers is hay. So when you give money with your right hand, with your 5 fingers, with your arm into his hand, you're doing a mitzvah min Hashem, min Torah, to complete the name of Hashem. Yud K, Vav K. It's a beautiful idea. Okay? That means you're associating Hashem in that great mitzvah that you're doing. Okay? Just a little bit of...
That was great. But what was the left hand with dinim and what did you say?
The left hand is for gvura, dinim.
What is that?
Strength. It's for justice. Justice.
Got
That's
it.
what it's considered to be. Justice and dinim and harshness. So we don't do mitzvot with our right hand, with our left hand. We do it with our right hand, which is chesed. And when you're putting tefillin, you put it on your left hand because you tie down with the tefillin. You tie down the justice. You're pulling back and holding back the dinim, the strict justice. Okay, that's why we put tefillin on the left, to subjugate the strictness of justice.
What do you say for the guys who put it on the other side, like the lefties?
Because that's his left
Is our right.
is all right. So he would have to put tefillin on that, subjugating that level of dinim. Okay.
Even with the maaser, you got to give it with your left hand, assumingly.
If considering that his left hand is his right hand, yes, then you're right.
I mean,
But anyways, the idea you understand. Okay, we have to give it with chesed. Okay. Now let's continue. Now you have to understand when a poor person, and what I mean by poor person, let's say you verify that this is an actual poor person, and he really doesn't have an annual income. He doesn't have what to support himself or his family. So therefore, pi halacha, according to Jewish din, he is actually a poor person. When he comes to you, you have to understand, and you have the means, you have an obligation to give. It's not that you can push him away. You don't have the right to do that. Unless, again, you don't have funds available, or you just don't have the time right now, and you're really, really stuck for time, which is a greater mitzvah. For example, you have to do a better mitzvah. So, ein osim mitzvot chavilot. That means you don't do multiple mitzvahs at one time. So if you're doing the mitzvah of panasah or whatever, another mitzvah of taking care of somebody else, you don't drop that to do another mitzvah of tzedakah. So, but let's say, for argument's sake, you're doing nothing. Well, not nothing. You're in your office, just about to start your work, and a poor person comes to you, or you're in synagogue, you're in shul, you just finished praying, and a poor person that you know, which is a valid poor person, comes to you, you're obligated to see to him. You have no choice in the matter. That's the Jewish law. You cannot ignore a tzedakah appeal if he is a real ani. So if he contacts you and you do ignore him, you know what the Gemara says? It's as if you served avodah zarah. It's very severe. we're here to serve Hashem, and Hashem gives us the rules, and He tells us that if you're not serving Hashem, then you must be serving some other deity, which is Avodah Zarah, which is quite severe.
So sometimes, like, if I go to shul, let's say, and I don't have my wallet on me, let's say, or I have my wallet, I don't have cash in my pocket, I feel bad. So how are you supposed to go about that if a ani comes up to you and asks you for something? Just say, sorry, I don't have anything on me right now?
That's right. Exactly that. Okay, because Hashem reads the hearts of all things, of all people. So you tell him with a sincere face, I'd love to give you right now. I'm really in a rush. I don't have time. Or I'd love to give you right now, but I don't have cash on me right now. I don't have change. Please come to me tomorrow. Again, being sympathetic with a happy face is part of the mitzvah. So if you can't Mekayim the whole mitzvah, at least Mekayim, or do part of the mitzvah.
Right.
And don't feel bad about it. That is what it is. Okay? But we're saying that if you have money and you're able to give, and you just can't be bothered to fetch $1 out of your pocket, that's not right. You have to make the time to give him at least the minimal amount, of $1. Okay, you have to do that. You can't just ignore and say, go to somebody else. It doesn't happen. You have an obligation. Now, let's say somebody comes to you and he's asking for, a big amount of money. Listen, we're building a building, whatever the situation, or we have a cause, it's Pesach, we have to feed 10,000 families in Bnei Brak, and they pitch it to you, and you really sincerely, find out that it's really a valid cause, and you want to give and say, okay, I'm going to donate $5,000.
Right.
You have to understand, by saying that is considered to be in Jewish law a vow. You are actually promising and making a vow according to Jewish law. You cannot negate on that.
Right.
Not only that, there is, this is not very well known at all, there is a prohibition which is in the Torah, which is called Bal Te'acher, meaning you are not allowed to delay. So if you say, they come to you for a Pesach appeal, we have 1,000 families in Bnei Brak that need feeding, he said, I will give before Pesach. You have to give before Pesach. Because if not, you say, listen, you could say, listen, it's my money. I can give anytime I want. I'll give after Pesach. They'll be happy with the $5,000 anytime I give them. You can't do that. Because there is a time limit to your vow. Your vow you said before Pesach. Every minute after Pesach, you are in prohibition of a love, of a negative commandment in the Torah called Bal Te'acher. Every minute, you get an Aveira for not giving after that particular time.
What does Bal Te'acher mean?
Means not to delay. The Torah says not to delay when you make a vow or when you do a mitzvah. Torah tells you to do a mitzvah, do it straight away.
Right.
Okay? You don't have to, in this particular case, Pesach, you still have a few days. You say, I will give before Pesach, so you don't have to do it straight away. You have time to go to your bank, arrange a transfer, and so on and so forth. But if you promise to give before Pesach, you have to. If not, you not only violate your vow, which to give tzedakah, that's a vow, that's a neder l'tzedakah. Number two, you're in violation of another prohibition called Bal Te'acher, delaying on your vow. Now, let's say you can't give. Something happens, tragic, something, Chalila v'chas, lo aleinu, that unfortunately you cannot give. You have to give to your family members or something, or you lost the money, whatever the case is. What are you going to do there? You can't just say, sorry, I don't have. I had, and I don't have, sorry. No, it doesn't work that way because you made a vow.
So you got to find someone to do it.
No, that doesn't help. Because the vow is on you. You can't say, go to my friend Jack. He's going to give instead of me. No,
Right.
You can't do that. So what do you got to do? You got to do what's called hatarat nidarim. Hatarat nidarim means to disavow you. So you go to a bed din, or you can go to actually 3 people. Tell them what your vow was, okay? And one of them has to know, must be a rabbi that knows the laws of vows, because there's a whole laws, parasha called Nidarim. There's a whole Masechet Gemara called Nidarim. It's very complicated. One of them has to be a rabbi, but 2 of them could be your friends. They sit in front of you. You tell them over the oath that you gave. You said you promised you're going to give $5,000 for tzedakah, for example, and unfortunately I wasn't able to. Please disavow me of my obligation to give.
Right.
Tell them that, and then there's a procedure that you say, and then they say, okay, you are disavowed, you are disavowed, you are disavowed 3 times, and that makes you no longer obligated to give that mitzvah, to do that obligation of the tzedakah.
Right.
Okay. Like I said, it's a procedure. You have to go to a rabbi that will be able to instruct you. Okay, with 2 other people, and go through that procedure called the procedure of disavowment. Okay, so it's severe. It's not. You have to be very careful what you say. A lot of people get passionate at the moment. Says, "Okay, I'm going to give you $10,000. I love it. You know what I mean? You can count on me." And you found out that you don't have it, or you can't straight away, and this and that, and you're stuck. You have to go and disavow that promise in order that you don't get in trouble.
Could you say I could only give you 2,000 now?
No, because you promised. If you said before Pesach, I'll give you $10,000, you got to do it. You got no choice. You can't say, hey guys, sorry, will you settle for 5,000? They'll say yes, but that doesn't help you vis-a-vis HaKadosh Baruch Hu and your promise to Hashem to give the money. You'd still have to go to the Beit Din or an authorized Beit Din messengers and disavow yourself with that procedure.
Well, the power of talking is very big. Like it goes back to when we spoke about Lashon Hara. When you speak, it's creating energy out there. So
correct, that as well. That is,
you're creating like this energy that's waiting on to be fulfilled.
Totally. Okay, so unfortunately we're gonna have to stop it here. I gotta go. I have another class to give. So that was part 1. Bli Neder, Mitzvah Hashem, we'll give part 2 next time we meet. All right.
Great.
So in the meantime, we won't see you for Pesach. So Chag Sameach and Chag Kasher Sameach for Pesach.